Ladies and gentlemen, our ceremony will begin momentarily. Today's ceremony is considered an outdoor ceremony, and all headgear is to be worn by all military personnel. We also ask that you please silence all cell phones and other electronic devices at this time. Thank you. Good afternoon, and welcome to historic Joint Base Myer-Henderson Hall. Originally established as Fort Whipple in 1863 and changed to Joint Base Myer-Henderson Hall in 2009. Its main purpose was fortification in the defense of Washington. Since its inception, Joint Base Myer-Henderson Hall has been the home of horse cavalry, artillery, and infantry. Today, it is home to the Old Guard, the United States Army Band, and the United States Army Garrison. Before today's review begins, the United States Army Band, Pershing Zone, presents a pre-ceremonial concert featuring the following musical selections: You're a Grand Old Flag, and The American Soldier. Ladies and gentlemen, the United States Army Band. Once again, good afternoon and welcome. Today, the United States Army Military District of Washington, represented by the soldiers of the 3rd United States Infantry Regiment, the Old Guard, and the United States Army Band, Pershing's Own, pay a special tribute to several soldiers who are retiring after many years of distinguished service to the United States Army and our nation. Participating in today's review, from left to right, is the United States Army Band, Pershing's Own. Formed in 1922 by then Army Chief of Staff, General John J. Pershing, the United States Army Band is the premier band of our senior service. Pershing's Own provides musical support for ceremonies and special events in our nation's capital and throughout the United States. The United States Army Band is under the direction of Captain Lee Lamb and led by Drum Major Daniel Ord. Elements of the Old Guard include Honor Guard Company, commanded by First Lieutenant Matthew McGovern and led by Sergeant First Class Alfonso Roman. Next on line is Bravo Company, commanded by Captain Frank Lazamis and led by First Sergeant Joshua Plant. Next on line is Doghouse Company, commanded by Captain Bill Cusick and led by Sergeant First Class Shane Vincent. Following is the Commander-in-Chief's Guard, patterned after the unit created by General George Washington in 1776 to be his personal guard. The Commander-in-Chief's Guard is commanded by Captain Sean Martin and led by Staff Sergeant Blake Cameron. The last element on line, dressed in the Continental Musician's uniform, is the United States Army Old Guard Fife and Drum Corps. During the American Revolution, musicians wore the reverse colors of their parent infantry unit. The men and women of the United States Army Old Guard Fife and Drum Corps maintained this tradition by wearing red coats instead of the infantry blue. The Corps is led today by Drum Major Tyler Halderman. Ladies and gentlemen, moving into position is the commander of troops for today's ceremony, Lieutenant Colonel Peter Vangel, Commander, 4th Battalion, 3rd United States Infantry Regiment, the Old Guard. Since the days of the American Revolution, the colors have been one of the most important elements of a military unit. Therefore, taking the center of our formation in just a moment, and bearing the national color is the nation's foremost color team, the 3rd Infantry's Continental Color Guard, led by Sergeant Eric Drizwicki. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the advancing of the colors. Please be seated. The history of the 3rd United States Infantry Regiment reflects the growth and development of our nation. 55 well-earned battle streamers, 2 Valorous Unit Awards, 3 Meritorious Unit Commendations, and 5 Superior Unit Awards attest to the Old Guard's record of bravery in action and achievements during peacetime. In 1922, the War Department granted permission for the Old Guard to pass in review with bayonets fixed. The Old Guard will now fix bayonets to the traditional beat of the drum. Ladies and gentlemen, taking the reviewing stand are the reviewing officials for today's ceremony. Colonel John Yurko, Chief Warrant Officer 5, Richard Sanders, and Command Sergeant Major Philip Whittington. Accompanied by the hosts, Colonel Thomas J. Kilbride, Commander, 3rd United States Infantry Regiment, the Old Guard, and Command Sergeant Major Adolfo Dominguez, Command Sergeant Major, 4th Battalion, 3rd United States Infantry Regiment, the Old Guard.
Oh!
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the advancing of the colors and remain standing for the United States National Anthem.
Sir, the persons to be honored and the colors are present.
Present the command. Shoulder, firelocks.
S1, S2, S3.
Present! Arm!
S1, S2, S3.
Detachment. Present. Arm! Order! Arm!
Please be seated.
Ceremonial. At ease. Step. Ceremonial. At ease.
Colonel Kilbride and Command Sergeant Major Dominguez are now moving into position to honor the retirees. Please feel free to applaud your soldier as they are called. Headquarters, Department of the Army Special Orders. By order of the Secretary of the Army, the following soldiers of the Department of the Army are retired. Colonel John Yorko, Military Intelligence. Chief Warrant Officer 5, Richard Sanders, Military Intelligence. Command Sergeant Major Philip Whittington, Infantry. Colonel Thomas Ficara, Engineer. Colonel Ephraim Garcia, Chaplain Corps. Colonel Esther Kim, Medical Service Corps. Colonel Thomas Cusick, Infantry. Colonel Andrew Morrison, Field Artillery. Colonel Michael Magner, Medical Service Corps. Colonel Christy Perry, Signal Corps. GS-15, Bridget Serchak, Public Affairs CID. Colonel Joseph Sheridan, Military Intelligence. Colonel Sanaja Sandiata Walker, Acquisition. Colonel Abelardo Turpin, Military Intelligence. Colonel Scott Williams, Medical Corps. Lieutenant Colonel Juan Barnett, Finance and Comptroller. Lieutenant Colonel Alex Barnett, Judge Advocate. Lieutenant Colonel Roger Dale, Military Intelligence. Lieutenant Colonel Richard Damaris, Medical Service Corps. Lieutenant Colonel Wayne Dunlap, Acquisition Corps. Lieutenant Colonel Adam Cordish, Special Forces. Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Coons, Military Intelligence. Lieutenant Colonel Jason Lathy, Cyber. Lieutenant Colonel Amelia Schultz, Logistics. Lieutenant Colonel Rodney Smith, Logistics. Lieutenant Colonel Richard Thomas, Judge Advocate. Lieutenant Colonel Cesar Torres, Air Defense Artillery. Lieutenant Colonel Brad Wesley, Medical Service Corps. Lieutenant Colonel Angela Yarnell, Medical Service Corps. GS-13, Arnold Leaks, OTSG Medcom. Major Kenny Mortagna, Acquisition Corps. Major Cheryl Magnaye, Logistics. Major Tommy Pinkard, Logistics. Major Richard Smith, Special Forces, FA-52. Major Renata Zakarkim, Medical Service Corps. Captain Louisiana Turner, Acquisition Corps, Quartermaster. Chief Warrant Officer 2, Jason Bedoya, Signal Corps. Command Sergeant Major Michael Bailey, Infantry. Command Sergeant Major David Bowen, Aviation. Command Sergeant Major Tippewan Grant, Ordnance. Sergeant Major Judith de Unamuno, Quartermaster. Sergeant Major Donald Doucette, Military Intelligence. Command Sergeant Major Raymond Hendrick, Infantry. First Sergeant Chia Yang, Aviation. Master Sergeant Jennifer Esmiu Brown, Quartermaster. Master Sergeant Frederick Harvey, Engineer. Master Sergeant Elsie Ortiz, Adjutant General. Master Sergeant Samuel Salmeron, Engineer. Master Sergeant Eric Seaman, Quartermaster. Master Sergeant Keith Stenerson, Quartermaster. Sergeant First Class Nakia Brackett, Adjutant General. Sergeant First Class Uzmain Kaita, Finance. Sergeant First Class Jose Nina Quispe, Military Intelligence. Lieutenant Colonel Scott Kenoff, Chaplain Corps. We are proud to recognize these soldiers' devotion to our country, and we wish them happiness and prosperity in their well-earned retirement. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the posting of the colors. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, Colonel Thomas Kilbride.
Distinguished guests, senior leaders, command sergeant majors, friends, and above all, the soldiers and families to be honored today. Thank you for making the time to attend to this retirement ceremony, and welcome to this historic Joint Base Myer-Henderson Hall. On behalf of the Secretary of the Army, the Honorable Daniel P. Driscoll, the Chief of Staff of the Army, General Randy A. George, and the Sergeant Major of the Army, Michael R. Weimer, welcome. Let's give a round of applause for the folks on the floor. We are lucky today for another beautiful day here in the National Capital Region and a great day to be a soldier. Before I address our distinguished retirees and families, I would like to take a moment and thank those who have worked hard to make today such a special occasion. On the floor in front of you, you have the soldiers of the 3rd U.S. Infantry Regiment, the Old Guard, the oldest active duty infantry regiment. You look tremendous, and your professionalism and precision honors those that are retiring today. Thank you for your hard work and your dedication, and again, thank you on behalf of the Army. Let's have another round of applause for the 3rd Infantry Regiment. Also, I'd like to thank the members of the United States Army Band, Pershing's own. As always, you guys sound amazing and make the ceremonies more special. Please join me in a round of applause for the soldiers retiring today joined the Army to be all they could be. Some joined the Army following Desert Shield and Desert Storm. Others, America was attacked by 9/11, and they answered the call. All have stood ready to meet the challenges and the uncertainties of the global war on terror that brought almost 2 decades of continuous combat operations. They stand here today representing the best of America. Today, we honor 55 soldiers and their families for their faithful and dedicated service to our nation and for being all they can be. Collectively, these soldiers represent over 1,336 years of military service across our Army, with service across the globe in a variety of combat arms, combat support, and combat service support specialties. These soldiers, leaders, and their families answered our nation's call and have not only served during a period of persistent conflict, but also led and trained the young men and women to deploy in harm's way to do our nation's business. Our Army and our nation owes you a great debt of gratitude for your service, your sacrifice, and I would like to take just another moment to talk about our flag, Old Glory. That you receive a flag on the occasion of your retirement is significant. It is a symbol of our nation and a recognition around the world. We have fought to protect the freedoms and our way of life, and we wear the Stars and Stripes proudly on our uniform, both at home and while deployed. The red color in the flag symbolizes hardiness and valor, with each of you has personified as a soldier and as leader in our Army. Operating in austere conditions with limited resources to accomplish the most difficult of tasks and missions. The white color refers to the purity and the innocence which you have sought to protect both here at home and abroad. The blue color represents vigilance, perseverance, and justice, which each of you have demonstrated in your conduct as a duty as an officer and a non-commissioned officer. I'm sure the flag holds special meaning for each and every one of you, as it should, given the service that you've had for your nation. As you walk out of Conmy Hall today, take solace knowing that you leave behind an enduring legacy that lives on in countless soldiers, that you've either trained, mentored, or inspired. The Army is a better place for it, better for your service. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in a round of applause for our 55 soldiers that retire today. I would be remiss if I did not take the time to also thank the family members of each of those retiring soldiers. Your sacrifice and support over the past 20-plus years of service has been the foundational support to their success for these retirees, allowing them to not only accomplish their mission, but to serve the Army that they love and do their job. You have remained steadfast in your support during a time of war that necessitates family separation, and for that, we will never really adequately compensate you for that. Please accept our eternal thanks on behalf of a grateful nation for all that you have endured as a military family. We could not fulfill our obligation to our soldiers, the Army, and the nation without your love and support. We thank you. Please join me in a round of applause for the families of our retiring soldiers. To our retiring soldiers, thank you for your service. You are true warriors and soldiers for life. So I humbly ask that you take one last task before you leave today. Tell the Army's story. Help to maintain our all-volunteer Army by sharing your experiences with America's sons and daughters so that they may be inspired to follow in your footsteps and volunteer to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. We continue to serve as a shining example around the world because men and women like you volunteered to serve. So again, on behalf of Secretary Driscoll, General George, and Sergeant Major of the Army Weimer, the Joint Task Force National Capital Region, Military District of Washington, the United States Army, and a proud and grateful nation, thank you. Good luck and Godspeed. This will defend. Be all you can be.
Step. Attention. Old guard. Attention.
Coat, right shoulder, over. Coat, ready, cut.
Pass and review.
All guard. Pass in review. Right
Backward.
face. Right shoulder.
Right wheel.
Arm.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the Army Song. The United States Army is honored to have presented today's special ceremony. Thank you for attending and enjoy the rest of your day.